When Bitcoin was at around 60,000 level, and I still remember in late 2021 and the year before, whenever friends, acquaintances, and participants asked me about my opinion about investing into cryptocurrency, immediately I knew. Now the word is investing into cryptocurrency. I knew they may not know much about cryptocurrency. To clarify, I am not an expert in cryptocurrency, but I do know its intrinsic value cannot be calculated then and even today. Therefore, it is an instrument not for investing, but for trading. Let me just elaborate a little bit more here. As long as we cannot define its intrinsic value to so-called an assets, it is not an asset, but an instrument for trading. When we get into trading, meaning we have to acknowledge that getting in and out. Out also represents to exit the market with either a profit or a loss. It is part of the deal in trading. We have to be quick when we make a wrong decision. However, if you position yourself as an investor in crypto, you will either always perceive that it will break new high or hope that someday it will go back to its former glory. So throughout the whole tutorial, I will do a recap on how I have spotted this high in November 2021. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to recap what we've done back then. And I will go through that, and it may seem like a hindsight view, but not to worry, I will still apply the same strategy to the current market using trendline and divergence. All right, let's get started. But before we get into the topic, so please take some time to also read into the disclaimer in the description box below. Now let's get started. And what was the observation back then? And then November 2021, I saw this. This was November the 8th, and I saw an inverted hammer. And before that, you may witness this. You saw there was an inverted hammer, and I saw this two double inverted hammer. It got me excited that I knew, of course, back then, I do not know that, but it seems to me that that was an double top. So what I did was we drill deeper and we go into the daily chart. I just got to squeeze in a little bit here on the daily chart. Now we have to assume that it was a bull trend all the way, years, months and years. And now how to qualify the uptrend is that each new high, it was a higher high. And that's an uptrend that we're seeing here. And I'm just going to put here. And it was a nice uptrend from one peak, or each new peak compared to its previous peak. It was a higher peak, and that is considered an uptrend. It is good. But however, what I saw here was, so this indicator that I'm using here is MACD. Now, in the same alignment, in each peak, that you just imagine that we drop down a line, imaginary line down, that we also look at the same peak. Now, this is getting something interesting here then, and now we're doing a case study. So later on, we're going to use the same technique to the current market to find if there's any opportunity on crypto or Bitcoin, whether is it going to continue to move down from here, or maybe it's going to make a reversal moving up from here. We're going to discover that in a short while. But then what I saw here is that this uptrend is kind of being compromised because of this divergence. Now, how will I know that the uptrend is likely to continue to stay in power? It is that each new peak, it got to be a higher high as well. But in the event when this peak is a lower high, this represents that this uptrend there is and divergence. So I'm very mindful about back then, and I was looking for a trigger. Now you can use many other triggers, but for tutorial, I like to use something really simple, and I like to use an uptrend line that in all the previous video that we have, I mentioned about how to construct an uptrend line. In this case, it's a secondary uptrend line. And in all, whether it's a primary or secondary uptrend line, we look out for 3 significant trough at least, and then we make adjustment to it. Now, so this is what I'm going to do. And I think I'm good to make this adjustment or even extend a little bit here. Now you could see that there was some false break. First significant low. Second, yeah, it touched the closing price. Third and fourth. And I have at least 4 significant trough. And this by itself on the daily chart, it kind of convincingly broke below this uptrend line. Now, before that, it was this uptrend is being compromised because of the divergence. I'm getting ready for a trigger. And when it broke this uptrend line, and this was a trigger point that you could either consider to take profit if you've been long all the way for Bitcoin, and or even to consider to turn short. Now, let's apply this technique to the current market right now. Okay, now, so everything I said, and of course, then was an uptrend, but now the Bitcoin obviously is a downtrend. And in case that you missed that, we could see since November 2021, Bitcoin has been moving on the downtrend. And how will we know that it's a downtrend is then we look at the trough. Earlier, we look at the peak, all right, it was a higher high. But now on the market itself, if it's downtrend, we look at the trough. Now, each new trough, if it is going to be a lower low, this represents that this market is a downtrend, which is true. Each new bottom or trough, it is a lower low. Now, in this case, we're going to apply the same techniques between trend line and divergence. I just want to find out if this bear market is going to be continuously moving downwards, or if there an avenue that this bear market will have some rebound moving forward. All right, so that's what I'm seeing here. Between these two trough, it was a lower low, and between this indicator, the MACD, now we have to be quite strict with this here, is that we could see that it just by a few points off, and indeed this new low, it just slightly lower than the previous low. And I have the knowledge that this is still a lower low. So there's no divergence here. Now, whenever we see that the trough is a lower low, and also the trough in the MACD indicator is also a lower low, this represents that this bear market is still bearish. So now I'm going to go back to the weekly chart. And so no, I do not think at this point, based on our study here, that Bitcoin is going to do a strong rebound anytime soon. Likely it's just going to continue this bear market and continue to move down from here. Continue to explore this topic with these related videos and registered for these webinars as well. Follow my Facebook page for my daily market insights. To be updated with my latest video, subscribe to my channel, and remember to turn on the notification bell. See you again very, very, very soon.